Penny? My glasses are dirty. What's up, girl? Seems pretty comfy. Yeah? You seem pretty comfy. Your tongue's out. What's your tongue doing?
Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to the Cozy Corner yet again. I am chilling here, and we're going to be chatting in this video all about Gen Con, which, sadly, right off the top of the video, I do have to let you guys know that I am not attending Gen Con this year, and this actually makes me really sad. I did want to go. I actually applied for a media badge, I got a media badge, and unfortunately just a bunch of different things have compiled together to make it difficult to go, as well as made me not really want to go, different things like that. So first off, my passport expired at the beginning of this year in February or March, so I needed to get that renewed. Sadly, I let it go too long and I renewed it a little bit too late, and it looks like I'm not going to get my updated passport until like right when Gen Con starts. So I didn't want to plan to go to Gen Con and then not get my passport in time, different things like that. So that was one thing. Another thing is I am trying to save some money in 2025. I did so much traveling in 2024 and the expenses were a lot, and because I am just doing the Board Game Garden full time, obviously I am not making a crazy amount of money, and I really don't want to have to, the first year that I went to Gen Con, I actually worked for a publisher, and I don't really want to do that again, which that kind of makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more affordable to go to Gen Con, but that's not really something that I want to do again, and it makes it really hard to go as the Board Game Garden if I am working at a publisher booth the whole time. So yes, that was another thing. Additionally, I am trying to travel more so in Canada this year. Just with everything going on in the US, I feel better traveling within Canada and kind of avoiding the US for the time being. I am really hoping to go to PAX Unplugged at the end of the year, so maybe things will be a little bit better then, but just right now it feels a little bit weird traveling to the US with everything going on. I'm not going to get too much into it. But yeah, just with all of that, and then also just trying not to travel as much because I really felt bad leaving Francis and the dogs so much last year and doing so much traveling. So just with all of that and just not really wanting to travel as much, I decided not to go to Gen Con this year, even though I really did want to go. It's really good for the channel and all of those things, but just right now it's hard for me to want to go and for me to afford to go and all of those things with expenses and time and all of that. So anyways, with all that to say, I am really still excited for Gen Con, seeing all of the new releases come out. I've already looked through the preview list over on Board Game Geek, and I am so excited to chat with you guys about all of the games coming out at Gen Con. And in this video, I'm going to split it up into two different lists. So the first list is going to be 10 or a few more than 10 games that I recommend to you. These are games that I have maybe covered on the channel or have gotten a copy of already and have played a ton of, and I recommend you check out at Gen Con. And then the other list is going to be games that I am looking forward to learning more about, and just games that really caught my eye that are going to be available at Gen Con. I think some of them on the list are for demo, and then some of them on the list are for sale. So I will try to let you know which ones are which, but I do have my iPad over here that I will be looking at. And yeah, without further ado, if you guys are interested in hearing all about the games that I recommend and also the games that I'm excited about at Gen Con 2025, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. And without further ado, let's get into this video, shall we? Alright, so getting into all of the games that I am going to recommend. So like I said, these are games that I have maybe covered on the channel and have played for coverage, or they're games that I have just already gotten that I really have enjoyed playing. So the first one that I wanted to recommend is one that I did a preview on, and I do believe that this is going to be available for sale at Gen Con. I could be wrong, but it did say for sale on the preview. to. But the game that I'm talking about is a game called A Place for All My Books, which this is published by Smirk and Dagger Games, and I did do a solo playthrough of this, I believe, and this game is so wonderful. It is literally the perfect cozy game for those of you who love solo cozy games that are all about puzzling things out, and there's objectives and just a big puzzle on the board. Definitely recommend. It is a game all about being a introverted book lover where you are staying in your home and just enjoying the surroundings of your books. You're organizing your books on shelves and just doing things with your collection of books, which as board gamers, we love that sort of thing, but obviously with board games instead of books. But then you will work up your social battery and go out into town, and you're going to be able to purchase books and trade books and get different things from the shops that will give you abilities and things like that. But then obviously those things will put down your social battery, so you're only going to have so much kind of actions or social battery to spend while you're out in town, and then eventually you're going to come back and then have those books that you've purchased and the items that you've purchased and try to achieve these different objectives in order to get victory points and different things like that. So yeah, such a wonderful game. I definitely recommend going and watching the playthrough if you want to see how the game plays and see if it's something for you, but that is the first one. The next game that I wanted to chat about is a game called Finding Calm. So this is actually a solo only game, and it is absolutely beautiful. This game is published by Rabble, and they have a lot of really pretty games. They also have a lot of like party games and very like large group conversational games and stuff like that. And this game that they came out with recently is a solo only game, and it's all about finding calm, relaxing, and it's this very simple puzzle of playing out cards into this 3x3 grid. The cards are like tarot cards, and I believe it's been a little bit since I've played this, but you're basically playing cards into that 3x3 grid, and you're going to be flipping cards down. You're also going to be flipping cards up, and I believe you're trying to get all cards flipped face down except for one card, and I think it has to be the center card that is face up. By the time that you place out all 9 cards in that 3x3 grid. And then basically that one card is your like tarot card reading for the day. So it's very much so like a morning kind of game to play with your coffee or your tea, where you're just placing down cards. It's very calm, relaxing, like I said, and it'll eventually give you like a reading for the day, which I think is really cool. So yes, I definitely recommend checking out Finding Calm. It's kind of in the same realm as A Gentle Rain and games like that, so definitely check that one out. The third one that I wanted to mention is one that I recently mentioned in my last video, which is a game called Flip Tunes. This is coming from Thunderworks Games, and this is a wonderful deck building game, kind of, where you're building up a deck of cards, and every round you're going to be flipping over 6 cards into a 2x3 grid, and then based off of where those cards are and what cards come out, you're going to be gaining victory points / money, because victory points are money as well. And you are trying to get your points to 30 points in one round. If someone can get to 30 points with all of the cards that they have flipped out that round, that will trigger the end of the game. You'll go into a final round, and then whoever has the most victory points in that final round will be the winner. And basically, if you flip over, you're going to go through a bunch of rounds because no one's going to get to 30 right away. So you basically try to get to 30. If you don't get to 30, you just go to the next round. But you also do get to spend the victory points that you made that round on other cards, because the victory points, like I say, double as money that you get to spend on more cards to add to your deck. It is kind of like a deck building game in a way where you are getting new cards, and then eventually when your draw deck runs out, you're going to reshuffle in all of the cards that you have used already that are in your discard pile, and you're just going to be going over and over again until one player gets to those 30 points, like I said. So yes, that is Flip Tunes. Another little game that I wanted to quickly mention is a game called Trinket Trove. So this is a game that is coming out from a newer publisher called Gamehead, and they are actually coming out with a bunch of small box games, but Trinket Trove is the one that really caught my eye personally. It has art by Sandara Tang, so there's absolutely gorgeous card art, and I actually played this one over at Tyler and Ilya's house in Edmonton when I went. And this is an interesting like bidding game and set collection game where you're going to be choosing some cards to bid from your hand, but the cards in your hand you're also trying to collect to do some set collection, because there's a bunch of different colors of cards, and you're collecting more of the same card, and based off of how many of each card that you have and based off of the cards themselves, you're going to be getting victory points based off of what you have in your hand at the end of the game. But you are using some of those cards to bid, and whatever cards you bid, those cards are also going to be available for other players to take, and whoever bids the most amount gets to go first and take like a pile of those cards, some of them being the ones that the other players have bid, and you're basically creating a hand of cards that eventually you will score in a kind of tableau of set collections. So yes, very fun game, super pretty art, and I definitely recommend checking that one out. Two that I wanted to mention is from Garfield Games, and that is Scarabray as well as the Anarchy, which you guys can't see them. They're like just off camera here. But those are two games from Garfield Games that they have recently released, and I did some content on those and absolutely love both of those games. The Anarchy is a game from the same designer as Hadrian's Wall, so very fun. Plays somewhat similar but still very different, and kind of ups the strategy a little bit and changes some things. So that is that. And then we also have Scarabray, which is the ultimate resource management game. There are like 16 different resources, and it is just so satisfying kind of exchanging those resources and doing different actions to try to get specific resources, and oof, just so satisfying. Absolutely love that game. But yes, those are two other ones. And then we also have Luthier, which Luthier is a game that I did cover here on the channel as well. This is a pretty big game, but it is a super interesting blind bid worker placement game where you have chips of different numbers and you're secretly putting them onto worker placement spots, and then they're going to be flipped over, and then whoever has played the highest number at that spot gets to take that action first. And in the game you are a luthier, I believe that is what you are, and you are creating different instruments or building different instruments and repairing different instruments for musicians. And super gorgeous, beautiful game. It's a big Euro game, but absolutely fantastic, and I've really enjoyed that one. Another one is Ofrenda. This is a new one from Osprey Games that was just recently released. That is on the preview list, and it is a wonderful puzzly card drafting game. And the cards that you are drafting all have different objectives on them of cards that they want adjacent to them, but then the cards that are adjacent to them also have objectives as well. So very kind of similar vibes to Calico and just those puzzly games of placing things in correct spots and trying to fulfill as many of the objectives as possible. You always thrive to get a perfect board, but it's most likely not going to happen. It's very rare, but yeah, again, such a satisfying game. I definitely recommend that one. I did just recently do a solo live stream of that one. Another one is Galileo Galilei. This one, I am absolutely obsessed with this game. Capstone Games is actually bringing it over to North America, and they will have it at Gen Con, which honestly, if I was going to Gen Con, this would be one that I would be going to first to get a copy. This game is absolutely fantastic. I've played it a few times already. I sadly do not have a copy yet, and I need to get my hands on a copy of that game because there is a solo mode, which I am super interested in trying out. So yes, this would definitely be one that I would be running to their booth to get because it is absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to say right now, a little bit of a spoiler, it might be really high on my top games of 2025. So yes, Galileo Galilei, so good. And then another one from Flat Out Games is Knitting Circle. They are releasing Knitting Circle at Gen Con. I loved this one. I did do a preview on this one as well, and I do think that I did a solo playthrough of this one too. So if I did, I will put it up here. But Knitting Circle is another game in the Flat Out series of games. It is kind of like the next in the Calico series. So you are creating or knitting different garments. And it is very satisfying, a super fun puzzly game. And you're trying to get certain colors of knitting tiles in order to knit these different pieces of clothing, mittens and socks and hats and sweaters and different things like that. So Knitting Circle is wonderful. Another two that I will quickly mention from Flat Out Games is Propolis and Point Galaxy as well. Those are two of their smaller box games that I've really enjoyed as well. And then lastly, for games that I wanted to recommend, this one is a big one and one that is super exciting and one of my favorite games, but this is the Lost Ruins of Arnak Adventure Chest. So this is the big box kind of for Lost Ruins of Arnak to put all of your components in, but then also there is an expansion inside it. There's a new board inside it, which I did play with the new kind of board expansion at WSBG at the end of last year, and oh my goodness, it was fantastic. Such a cool addition to the game. It like changes up a few things with the research track and adds in these dark tablets, and just so cool. Definitely recommend checking that out if you're a fan of Lost Ruins of Arnak. But that is publisher CGE that is releasing that. So yes, those are all the games that I wanted to recommend. But let me pick up my iPad and let's go through all of the ones that I am excited about. Obviously, I don't know a ton about these games. I did as much research as I possibly could on these games from the preview list. Some of them have pictures, some of them don't. But I will try to include some pictures here if I can. But yes, let's get into the games that I am excited about or anticipating at Gen Con. All right, so the first game that I wanted to mention is a game called Ace of Spades. So this is coming from Devere, and this is a 1 to 2 player game. Preferably, I think it is a solo game, but it says you can play with 2 people if you want to play cooperatively. But basically, this is a game that has a little bit of poker in it, and I have really enjoyed The Gang recently, which was quite a surprise to me because I've never been a huge fan of poker. But basically here it says Ace of Spades is a single player game or a 2-player game if you prefer to play it co-op mode that uses poker mechanics to resolve dangerous duels against the worst spawns from hell. So super cool. The kind of like dangerous duels kind of thing is cool, but not something that I would be like, oh my goodness about. But the one thing that does grasp me or grab my attention is the fact that it is like poker mechanics, and I think that it'd be really cool as a solo game. So yes, really excited about this one. Ace of Spades. It is a weight of 2 out of 5, so it's not too heavy, but I'm interested to see how they use poker mechanics to like have duels and stuff. I think it sounds cool. So yes, it says cooperative game, hand management, solo. So that is the first one that I'm excited about, Ace of Spades. Next up is a game that is kind of the next game that is related to another game that I really enjoy. The other game is Railroad Inc., which is a roll and write. But this is a new one coming out from Horrible Guild, and that is Railroad Tiles. So this was a game that was already kickstarted, and I believe that it is starting to fulfill very soon. And I am so excited because Horrible Guild did reach out to me, and I am getting sent a copy of Railroad Tiles, and I cannot wait to play this one. It has a solo mode, it has a ton of expansions. If you guys are not aware with Railroad Inc., there's a ton of expansions with that game, and that one you are rolling dice and then creating the different highways and railroads and connections in order to gain victory points. But in this one, you are drafting different tiles in order to kind of do similar things with tiles, that you are connecting the different highways and railroads and things. But then you are also placing down the trains and the cars as well as the people onto these tiles. And it does say here, the available actions change from round to round, so you need to prepare in advance, which that part sounds really cool. And then it says the more pieces of the same kind each new placement connects, the more points you'll earn. You will also score bonus points at the end of the game by placing tiles in a large rectangle without gaps and for creating sets of 3 adjacent city tiles. So yeah, super excited about this one. Again, very much like Railroad Inc., there's going to be a bunch of different expansions and stuff. And yeah, again, it has a solo mode, and I cannot wait to try this one out. So that is Railroad Tiles. Next game is one that I have actually not seen at all until I looked on the preview. And this is a game called Inkwell. And this is from a publisher, DVC Games. And I think this is the publisher that came out with, yes. So there was another game called Scream Park that I heard a few other content creators talk about. I think Jamie from Foss the Meeple mentioned this one, and Kim from Board Game Buzz also mentioned this one too. That is like a fun, you're creating like your own theme park, and I think it has a solo mode as well. But this one here, which is Inkwell, which let me get back to it, is a game that does play 1 to 5 players, so you can play this one solo. And this one sounds really, really cool. I'll just quickly mention or kind of read off what it says here. It says, in Inkwell, each player will either take supplies from a shared mat or choose to score and move on to a new page of their own codex. Supplies include colored ink cubes, gold leaf, and inscription cards with special powers and effects. Everything you take must fit on your 2 manuscript cards, and if you empty the last inkwell of a certain type, the abbot ticks down the game time towards ending the game. So yeah, I think it sounds really, really cool, and the fact that you're like creating these different manuscripts and then being able to kind of decide when you want to move on to a next page kind of thing. It sounds really, really cool. It says, if you choose to turn the page, you score for all of the completed work, and you collect your ability cards on the side to benefit you for the rest of the game, building an engine of beautiful inscriptions. This one sounds so cool to me. Unfortunately, there are no pictures of this one, just the front cover, but the mechanisms here are open drafting, pattern building, race, set collection, solo, as well as it has variable player powers and variable setup. So that is my number 3, Inkwell. All right, so next up is actually a group of 3 games from a publisher, and these are 3 small box games that Ivy Games are coming out with, and they're going to have them available at Gen Con. So the first one is probably the one that I'm most excited about, and that is Graft. This is actually in the world of Tend. And Tend, another spoiler, is probably one of my top games of 2025 as well. If granted it does end up getting released in 2025 or fulfilling in 2025, which I think it most likely will. But yes, Graft is a small kind of card drafting set collection game based in the universe of Tend. It says here, Graft is a card drafting set collection game for 3 to 5 players where you will fill your cargo manifest with high valued goods and send them back to Zenith Corporation. On each turn, you will simultaneously draft 1 card to place into your cargo manifest. Each card is a valuable good that has a specific scoring condition and restrictions on how it can be packed into your manifest. Keep drafting cards to gain more points, but be careful because if you don't pack your cargo properly, Zenith will reject your manifest, forcing you to start over. Sounds so cool. Absolutely love that it's in the world of Tend. That is one. Another one that they're coming out with is called Time to Panic. This one does have a solo mode. Unfortunately, Graft does not have a solo mode, but Time to Panic does have a solo mode. I think it's 1 to 4 players, if I'm not mistaken. I only have Graft here on my iPad, so I'm just kind of talking about Time to Panic from memory. But basically this one is a cooperative game. You can play it solo as well, obviously. And you are basically trying to place cards back in order. It is like a card ordering game, if that makes sense. And you're trying to order them in like a timeline. Don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but it sounds very, very cool. And the last one is the one that I'm least interested in because it is a 2-player only game. And I'm trying to get more into 2-player only games. It's just hard for me to get them played, like I always say. But that one is a lane battler game set in the universe of Veiled Fate. I don't know if I've actually said the title of the third one, but it's Pillars of Fate. They have Pillars of Fate, which is the one that's coming out, and then that's based off of Veiled Fate, and then there's also Scales of Fate as well. So yes, those are the 3 coming out by Ivy Games. Next one is one that I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to see more of. This is such a cool concept for a game, and the game that I'm talking about is called The Game Makers, which this is coming from Bezier Games, and this is literally a game where you are board game manufacturers trying to manufacture actual board games. They actually got like 300 different board games from a bunch of different publishers, and you can actually be a manufacturer that's like making these board games, which I think is just crazy. It has a rondelle, which I've read, and just like the look of the game looks so cool. The mechanisms here are contracts, dice rolling, endgame bonuses, market. Oh, there's actually a lot of different things here. Multi-use cards. Ooh, that was another big thing with it, is there's multi-use cards. And also they say that there is multi-use components, which I think sounds really cool. But there's rondelle, semi-cooperative, set collection, simultaneous action selection, tech trees, tech tracks, tile placement, variable player powers, variable setup, and worker placement. So yes, this sounds like a very cool game, and I seriously cannot wait to find out more about this one. It sounds so cool. Plays 1 to 6 players. And this is actually designed by Ben Rossett, which he actually is the designer of a lot of really well-known games like Fromage, as well as The Search for Planet X, which some of my favorite games. So yes, I cannot wait to hear more about that one. That is The Game Makers. The next game that I wanted to mention is actually a solo only game, and this is a game called Hercules and the 12 Labors, which again, I am super thankful because this one is on its way to me, so I am going to have a chance to try this one out as well. But this is published by Envyborn Games. They have made a lot of like small box games, which I have really enjoyed. But this one looks really cool. Like I said, it is a solo only game. You are playing as Hercules and you are trying to defeat these 12 labors, and it is some like dice rolling, there's storytelling, and there's like events and stuff. So super excited about this one. I am a huge fan of like Greek mythology and that sort of thing, so having that kind of theme on it has really caught my attention. So excited to have that one show up, and I can play that one and tell you guys about that one. That is Hercules and the 12 Labors. Another one that I'm super excited about is a game from DV Games. This is the same publisher that brought you Bonsai, which Bonsai was one that I really wanted at my first Gen Con that I went to, but they sold out of Bonsai, and now they are coming out with Koi, which Koi, it looks like it's kind of the next in the series with Bonsai. It looks like it has some similarities to Bonsai, which I've really enjoyed. That one is actually one that I went out of my way to purchase because I've really enjoyed it on BGA and I have loved playing it. You can play that one solo as well, and you're basically building up a bonsai tree, but in Koi, you are drafting kind of similarly to Bonsai, these different tiles, and you are building out a koi pond. And a really cool thing is there's actually these like clear acrylic tiles that you place over top into your koi pond that are like the different fish and stuff. It looks absolutely stunning. Like I said, you can play this one solo. It plays 1 to 4 players. The box cover looks absolutely beautiful, and just the way that the koi ponds end up looking looks absolutely beautiful. So I cannot wait to see how this one plays and try that one out. So that is Koi. All right, so 3 more to go. The next one is a game called The Wondrous Museum, which this one looks really cool. It is from a publisher called Broadway Toys Limited. It plays 1 to 5 players, so again, it does have a solo mode, which we love. And this is like a hand management game. It has like cards and stuff. It definitely looks like it's a game that is right up my alley. I love games where you are playing cards and those cards have different abilities and stuff. But basically it says, in Wondrous Museum, each player manages their own museum, and on a turn you can acquire exhibits, or by using the right ruins, activate them for their special effects in order from left to right. Every effect can be chained together, so carefully select which collections you want to display and activate them from time to time to win applause from the visitors. So cool. I feel like there needs to be more games about like museums and stuff. There is a few that I've heard of, but this one just looks absolutely stunning. The like card engine building kind of vibe to it just gets my attention because I've loved games like The Veil of Eternity, also like Castle Combo, Far Away, all those types of games. So yes, super excited to learn more about the Wondrous Museum. All right, so next up is a game coming to you from CGE, or Czech Games Edition. And this game is called Wispwood, which it plays 1 to 4 players. Again, solo mode, super excited. But I absolutely love the look of this game. It is like beautiful, it's colorful, it has a lot of like glowing orb things. There's a cat on the cover, we love to see it. But when I was reading kind of generally how this game plays, it is a like open drafting kind of tile pattern building game. But it kind of reminded me a little bit of the series of games of Sagani, Framework, and Nova Luna, where you are drafting tiles and then placing them into your own kind of grid in order to score victory points in different ways. That's kind of what I grasped here. It says, welcome to Wispwood, a magical place populated by glowing wisps. On your turn, choose a wisp tile and a shape to place in your personal grid, your very own growing forest. Each wisp has desires about where it wants to shine, and even the magical trees have preferences. You'll aim to meet their expectations across 3 scoring rounds. Between rounds, the forest shifts, fading and expanding, yet the wisps you've already placed remain, shaping the possibilities ahead. Ooh, sounds so good. Cannot wait to check this one out. It looks beautiful. Yeah, that is another one I'm excited about, Wispwood. And last, but certainly not least, I am so excited for this game. What I've read and what I've kind of seen from this game, it sounds so cool. This is a game coming to you by Salt and Pepper Games, which I have loved quite a few of Salt and Pepper games. I've loved Witchcraft as well as Conservas. They have some really fantastic solo games, and this game here does have a solo mode. And this is a game called the Voynich Puzzle. And it plays 1 to 4 players, like I said, and it sounds so cool. The cover is beautiful. Just the look of the game is absolutely stunning. But what it reads here is, in the Voynich puzzle, you will collectively try to decipher the Voynich manuscript, using your copy of the book as a main tool to do it. As the collective understanding of the manuscript grows, you'll be able to gradually decipher pages on your book, improving your chances to decode it. The player with the most overall knowledge at the end of the game will be the winner. So what I've read from this is basically you are trying to figure things out in your own book, and based off of the 2 pages that you have open, it's going to determine like actions that you're going to be able to take, and then you're going to try to figure out knowledge about this manuscript, and then you can, as the player, add it onto the collective board in the middle to gain knowledge, and obviously you want the most knowledge at the end of the game. So you're adding it to the collective board. You are giving other players information, I think, but like in the end, it gets you more than the other players, if that makes sense. But it says, on your turn, you will select a double page on your book and perform the actions on the top side of those pages. Each pair of pages will allow you to interact with one of the 5 main sections of the manuscript: botany, astrology, baths, writing, and recipes. Once you gain enough knowledge on an area, you will share that knowledge, adding a piece of the puzzle that manuscript represents. All players will have access to that knowledge, helping them decipher the manuscript, which is represented by turning and flipping of the cards in your book. I think that is so cool. It sounds absolutely fantastic. This is probably one of the ones that I'm most excited about out of the ones that I've talked about today. But yes, that is the Voynich Puzzle. All right, friends, so that is going to be everything for today's video. Those are my recommendations, as well as the games that I am most excited about that are either being demoed or coming out at Gen Con. I, again, am so sad that I am not going to be joining for Gen Con this year. I apologize, and I hope you all, if you are going to Gen Con, have the most amazing time. I'm going to be at home with all of the FOMO, but just know I will be going to, fingers crossed, PAX Unplugged at the end of the year, so I'm excited for that, and I'm excited what games are going to be available then, but I'm also very excited about all the games that are going to be coming out at Gen Con, and yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Comment down below any games that you're excited that are going to be coming out at Gen Con or being demoed at Gen Con. I'd love to talk about that in the comment section. I love you guys so much. Remember, you are somebody who brings a smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends!